Greetings, welcome to Verbling, www.verbling.com. I am Teacher Oakley, and today we are going to do a TOEFL reading test, Blitz. What we're going to do this class, this hour's class, then an hour following that. We'll be taking a break for an hour, and then 2 more hours of drilling. This first class will be an overview for those of you who are new to the TOEFL reading test. We're going to basically outline what you can expect, talk a little bit about scoring, and talk a little bit about strategies and tips for taking the TOEFL reading test. Next class will be focused on question types, because this is very important, because basically you use a slightly different strategy for different types of questions. So it's important to know how to attack each question type. Following that, one more class, we'll very carefully do the test together. We'll start drilling. We'll take our hour break, and then the following 2 hours we're going to practice. Okay. So since this class is an overview and basically especially recommended for those of you new to the TOEFL test, I would happily entertain any questions whatsoever about TOEFL reading or the TOEFL test as in its entirety, any part of the TOEFL test, TOEFL compared to IELTS or TOEIC or CAE or basically any question whatsoever. Please don't be shy. Any questions you have about any of these exams, definitely feel free to just throw it out there, and I'll be happy to entertain any and all questions. Welcome to the class, Sarah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How are you today?
Fine. And you?
I'm good. Thank you. Sarah, do you have plans or intentions to take the TOEFL test?
Yeah, I want it.
Okay. May I ask, what is your motivation? Why are you taking the test?
What's a motivation mean?
What? Do you have an intention? Or, I know. Oh, motivation. I'm sorry. That was my question before. Sorry. Motivation. Why? Just simple. Why are you taking the test? What's the reason?
Because I wanted to study a master. Yeah.
Okay. You're trying to get your master's degree.
Yeah, to go to college, and I need score.
Very good. That is the usual reason. Where will you be going to college? Or do you know?
Education college in America or UK. I don't know.
Okay, you don't know yet. Okay. Very good. All right, you're going to study education.
Yeah.
It's a crazy field. Trust me, I know. I'm a teacher. Think again. No, I'm kidding.
I am trying. I'm a teacher, and I know it. I know it that. And I'm happy I'm not now teacher.
Okay, I'm just joking with you. I'm pulling your leg only. Hello, Ishmael. How are you today?
Thank you, Oakley. I am very well. How are you?
Terrific. I'm doing great, actually. We'll see how I'm doing after this crazy series of classes. You can ask me that again in a few hours. Okay. Nice to see you, as always. And hello, Thayer.
Hi, Oakley. How are you?
I'm great. How have you been?
Actually, we have a different time zone between my country, actually, my
Yeah.
city, and when you live. So
Yeah.
we have about 6 or 7 hours. You know
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what time is it there?
Now it is 8 a.m.
Oh, good morning.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I'm happy to be here to welcome you to a new day.
Thanks,
La la
Oakley.
la 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 la. Okay. Well, welcome to the class. And hello, Michael. Greetings.
Hi, Oakley.
Hey. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm really great. Okay. Welcome, everyone. All right. This class, I'm going to overview. Again, I highly encourage anyone to interrupt me. Please don't feel like you're being rude. Just go ahead and interrupt me to answer questions. This is an overview. I've got my spiel down. I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going
What
to...
did you go down? What did you get down?
My
Spiel?
spiel.
What is that?
My spiel. A largely memorized body of speaking that you know what you're going to say, and I get rolling on this, and I'm just going to roll with it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's why I'm saying I'll just keep going unless you interrupt me. Okay. To be honest, I'm going to do a lot of talking. So any questions or anything, just really go ahead and interrupt me. And I'm just going to talk about the TOEFL exam and focusing on the TOEFL reading exam, what to expect, what's going to happen, and some very specific details, and then some tips and strategies. Hello, Faisal.
Hello, teacher.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. Faisal, I know some of you may be interested actually in the IELTS test, and that's fine. Actually, you're not wasting your time here. TOEFL and the IELTS reading tests are quite similar. Actually, the material is extremely similar, and which is basically academic-based material. Themes like arts, the fine arts, maybe you'll be reading about Shakespeare or some famous poet, or perhaps a specific genre of art, something like that. Modern dance, who knows? Maybe you'll be looking at the natural sciences, paleontology, geology, these types of things. Perhaps more softer sciences, maybe psychology, sociology, the study of Indians in the Amazon basin, all of these kinds of things. Okay, so the topics and the reading material are very much the same. The difference lies in the questions. There are some question types which are quite similar and some which are quite different in TOEFL. Now, okay, the TOEFL test, in general, just like most of these tests, it consists of 4 parts: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. In the TOEFL test, now the TOEFL test used to have a paper version. I'm not even sure if it still exists or not. I know they're trying to phase it out. They're moving to what's called the TOEFL IBT. It is a computerized test. I'm pretty sure wherever you guys are, that's what you'll be looking at.
The TOEFL paper test is only provided in countries where it is not possible to do IBT. But in most of the countries, it's possible at the moment. So.
Yeah, and what are those questions? I know that actually, but what are those countries? How could you not have access to? There's absolutely
Internet.
no computer, no internet.
I'm not sure.
Okay, deepest, darkest Africa. Some country where they're having a revolution and there are absolutely no power lines. I don't know. Anyway, most of us will be taking the computerized IBT version, right? Okay. The big difference between this test and IELTS, they are much stricter about adhering to specific time. You're fighting the clock in the TOEFL. Example, in the reading test, which we're focusing on today, in the IELTS reading, you have 60 minutes to do the whole thing. You have 3 passages, 40 questions. But you can take 15 minutes on one and 25 minutes on another and 20 on the third. You can figure out how to divide your time. That's a little different in TOEFL. You will most likely have, again, 3 reading passages, probably more questions, probably 45 to 50 questions. There is no set amount. IELTS, it's always 40. It can be different in TOEFL. However, each reading passage will have a required amount of time, and once that time is up, for example, if you have 3 passages, probably 20 minutes each. So you have to worry about the 20-minute clock on each passage, as opposed to IELTS, which you only worry about 1 hour for everything. However, that's the bad news. The good news is that although that is true, you do have functionality where you can review. You have a button you can push, and you can see which questions have been answered and which questions have not been answered yet. You can flip back and forth. You can go forward. You can skip a question and go back. And you have a review button to check any questions you haven't looked at. So you have, you know, technology to help you stay organized. Actually, let's check that out for a second. Let me screen share something with you here. Just real basic what you're looking at with the screen and reading, and let's talk about what you'll be seeing and what you can do with these. It's not like you have an overly complicated. You're not flying the space shuttle here or anything. It's pretty basic. Yeah.
Can I see the question before I read the passage?
Okay, good question. Yes, and here's why. Good timing. Okay, you'll have an introductory thing, and then you'll see the passage, and it will look like this. Now, if you so desire, as Ishmael might, over here, starting on the far right, of course, don't touch this stuff. Obviously, you guys know about computers or you wouldn't be here. Please don't close the window. Do not push the red X. This will close your test and you will be done. Don't do that. Okay, whatever you do. Okay, here's the next button from the far right. So yeah, you can easily click next, next, next. And in fact, Ishmael, in this particular test, whereas in IELTS you'd be flipping papers back and forth to check the reading passage and check the questions. So in an IELTS test, if you're sitting there with 30 other people taking the test, this is what you hear the whole time. You hear papers being shuffled back and forth, madly, insanely. But not so in the TOEFL test. In fact, you may want to do that, Ishmael, because you can see the reading passage next to the questions. You can actually look at the reading passage as you flip to the next, past the opening reading passage. You'll see the whole thing, or maybe it might take 2 clicks to see the whole thing. But if you keep clicking next, you'll go to the questions, and in fact, you'll still be able to see the reading passage as you answer the question. So, actually, very good question, Ishmael. Yes, and perhaps that's exactly what you want to do. Next to that, you have a back button. So you can, if you so desire, you can go back. You do have a help button. This help button, if you need this, you shouldn't be taking the test because this will only give you basic instructions which you should already know before you ever walk into that testing center. So it's there, but heaven help you if you actually need it. Here is a review button. Okay, this is the button you push and you can see which questions you have answered and which questions you have not answered. From this review page, you can click directly to, say, question 5, which you have not answered. You left it blank and you moved on to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You click review. Oh, that's right, I forgot to answer 5. You click review. It will show you which ones you have or haven't answered, and then you can actually go directly from that page to question 5. Okay? So this is very helpful.
And also on their website like ets.org, TOEFL, yeah, you can find for free a sample of the light test, of TOEFL light test. Like there is some. Yeah, and you can see this interface there. You can work on that, like to see how it's.
You can practice with the interface.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is very, very valuable.
And you will answer the questions. You will do the same kind of things, but it's only one topic about there. Like it's not many tests you can take, but only one.
Very good.
But for free.
Is there any break between session and how long does it take?
For the entire test?
For the entire test.
Basically the reading, listening, and writing are 1 hour each, and the speaking is 20 minutes. Are there breaks? God, I can't remember. I think there are short breaks, but obviously not in the middle of one of the tests. I think there may be short breaks, maybe not. There's definitely a break before the speaking test. Just in case, eat plenty of food.
But Oakley, sorry about this, but is that always depend about old language like this, auto or auto at his name, or what exactly that? In this passage.
Oh, this particular passage, Otto
Yeah.
Hahn. What about it? What's your question there?
Yes, about auto. Although auto, what does mean auto?
Okay. Although Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, that's fun to say, discovered the process. These are proper names, first and last name. Okay.
So I thought it is like Shakespeare language. It is old language.
Oh no! Oh my goodness, that would be terrifying. No. Oh my goodness. Gosh, golly, gee whiz, no. No, they are not going to present you with archaic English language. They are not. You won't see. Sometimes English language uses words from other languages. Sometimes we borrow Latin phrases like ipso facto, ergo. You won't see any of that. In fact, there, if you care to look again here, if you see this uranium isotope here, you see how this is underlined?
Yes, I see it.
In the actual test, if I scroll over this like I'm doing now, I could actually see a definition for that word. So there will be some words. Okay, now on the other hand, you see feasibility here. It's shaded. All right, that's different. This means there's going to be a question about feasibility. Most likely, my guess is, a vocabulary question in which you'll have to choose a synonym. But down here, you got moniker. You've got it underlined. If you scroll over it, all right, if you scroll your mouse over that, it will a pop-up will appear, and you will see a definition. Okay.
Okay.
So actually, thank you for asking that question. Help me remember that. Yeah.
Are the subject always like this? Because I read in my own language this passage. I couldn't understand totally exactly because it's a very scientific and difficult to understand.
Yes, well,
Actually, for
there
me.
you go. That's a very good question. Regardless of what you don't know everything. So you may run into passages in which you're familiar with the material. You may run into passages where it's completely alien and nothing you've ever experienced at all. Now, this is coming from TOEFL, not from me, okay? So don't get mad at me if it's not true. TOEFL expresses the idea that you should be able to answer all questions on the test regardless of any pre-knowledge of this material and without knowing any particular specific vocabulary. Things like, for example, in this one, we have neutrons and isotopes and uranium atoms. Now, maybe you know about all those things, and maybe you don't. According to TOEFL, you don't have to know those things. For example, they will help you. They will define uranium isotope here. You're not going to have to, for example, vocabulary words won't be about any of these things. Atoms and neutrons and isotopes. They will not be. They will be more about words that are used for all English and generally in English in any place in English, like, in this case, feasibility. That's used in normal life. The questions, the vocabulary questions won't be about these weird words and concepts. They'll be, obviously they're being used in the passage, but they're going to be normal words. Actually, the idea is, believe it or not, Ishmael, that even though you may not be able to understand all the details, and you probably won't, it's not likely that you will understand 100%, you're not supposed to. The idea is that you're supposed to be able to understand the intention of the author, what he's trying to do. Is he explaining a process? Is he supporting an opinion? Is he merely presenting fun, happy facts for your enlightenment? There will be questions related to that. Also, you have to, what the questions are about, what they want you to know is the author's purpose and the overall idea of the passage. What is the topic? What is the controlling idea? What is the specific area of that general topic that the author is trying to prove, trying to explain, trying to disprove, possibly? So, again, this is according to TOEFL. Okay. So, yes, there is almost no doubt. Most certainly you will not understand everything in these passages. No one does. I don't, Ishmael.
Really, Oakley?
Really?
No.
Right there. I'm not a genius, even though I know I appear to be. But I'm not. Okay. Here are two other buttons you don't want to touch. Pause test, which will pause the test, but you can't do that. Your time will keep going. So it doesn't really do anything. Section exit, that's if you're going to bail out on this part of the test and you want to go right to the next reading passage. Don't do that. Just don't do it. It is a good idea to try to answer every question. You don't lose points for an incorrect answer. Obviously, you will lose points. You don't lose extra points for an incorrect answer. It's the same as if you leave it blank. So you might as well take a guess, especially since there are multiple choice questions. Why not? You A, B, C, D. You close your eyes and point your finger, and you have a 25% chance. So why not?
And that advice is coming from an English teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. The
Okay.
probabilities teacher. I mean, yeah.
What is the meaning of underlined words? Is any special meaning?
If you scroll
Oh,
over them, if you, like I'm doing right now, can you see how my mouse is over that word?
yes, I can see.
Yeah, in the real test, you would see a pop-up. A little pop-up would come and with a definition of that word.
Oh, okay.
So also, in reference to your earlier question, you will get a little help with some of these, especially the more scientific words. They will actually explain what they are. All right, they won't be test questions. They'll help you with that type of material. So yeah, that may help you a lot. You do have the timer, which you should keep an eye out. If for some reason you have some kind of major paranoia about looking at the time and it freaks you out and you're afraid you're going to have a heart attack and fall over in your chair, you can hide the time. However, I don't recommend it unless you have some major phobia, because you really do need to have an idea of how much time you have left. Okay, so basically that's what it looks like. It's very simple. You don't have anything else. In the writing section, you will have simple cut, copy, and paste functions here. And as Michael pointed out, Michael, actually, can you get, what is that website again? www. It's ETS TOEFL.
.org TOEFL.
What?
I will find the link and I'll put the chat for the practice test.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I took like twice, I think. Once when I didn't, like when I started to learn English, and the second time like 3 months ago.
Did you improve?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The first time, it kind of my head was overwhelmed. First time when I take before to learn English, like I didn't understand and I closed the test before to finish.
Okay, and actually that's another very good point. The first time you look at this TOEFL material, you will be overwhelmed. What?
Okay, you can check this. I have one.
Oh, you put it in the other chat. Okay, hang on.
Yeah, you see it or you don't?
I can get to it.
Okay.
But that's not official.
Yeah, this is somebody else's. There is an official one as well.
Yeah.
Right, which is the one Michael was talking about, is the official.
Yeah, with interface. You will see an interface at the same time, not only just the questions.
Actually, I have a lot, but let me see.
Anyway.
Here is the test.
Okay, there it is in the VerbLink chat box. Thank you, Michael. That is definitely the official site. Thank you. I'm familiar with the site, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that way you can actually practice with the interface that you would use on the actual test. As well, for those of you interested in one-on-one lessons, I have a number of actually you. What they are is they're very advanced PDFs, not PDFs. I'm sorry. What are they called? What is that called? That kind of document where it's like a slideshow. Hello.
PowerPoint.
Yeah. PowerPoint. Mental block there. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, they're PowerPoints that follow the same thing, and they have click-throughs and et cetera, which I'd be happy to share, which I can't do through here. But if you're sign up for my one-on-one classes, I'd be more than happy to share my wealth of material.
That sounds alluring.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it, though? Okay, enough of my self-promotion, my shameless self-promotion. Okay, well, that's what you look at. Now, Ismail had a very intelligent question. Can I skip right to the questions? Well, yes, you can. And you may, in fact, want to. the luxury here is you can see now the question. They may show you the question and then the paragraph that is relevant to the question, not the entire reading passage. Okay. So actually, this strategy to just proceed to the questions and focus on each, as the questions relate to each paragraph, may actually be a better idea. However, I also, I'm giving advice, but this isn't advice. One thing about taking these reading tests, IELTS or TOEFL, a strategy that works for one person may not work as well for another person. Okay, so I really want to make that clear. I'm not telling you what to do. You should actually practice a couple different strategies and see what you're the most comfortable with, honestly. What works for me probably wouldn't work for you. I'm an extremely fast reader, so I don't mind reading the whole passage. The passages are quite a lot. Another difference between this and IELTS. You have more questions in TOEFL, but shorter reading passages. In TOEFL, the reading passage is only about 700 words. IELTS, the reading passage is 2,000 to 2,500 words, 3 times larger. Okay. So there's a lot more material to look at in IELTS. Okay.
It's more difficult, Oakley. There is a rumor in my country TOEFL is the most difficult test in English.
Well, okay. You're all right. All right, Ishmael. I try not to give my opinion in this class, in this overview class, but you're forcing me to. I think it's very difficult. Compared to IELTS reading, for example. Let me just share a small anecdote with you. I used to teach in an academy, in classroom settings and one-on-ones in an actual brick-and-mortar academy with students. And we would teach TOEFL and we would teach IELTS and TOEIC. And once a week, the TOEFL reading teachers, of which I was one, I think there were 4 of us in the school, we would meet for lunch on every Thursday, I think was, so that we could, and we'd bring our material and we'd have lunch in a little conference room so that we could discuss the new reading questions which we don't even understand. So how can we explain to students? Because there would always be some. Almost every exam has one question that's like, I just can't logic it out. And so in our frustration, we would meet as a support group to help each other with frustrations and to see if we could add logic and add meaning to the questions. Seriously, some of the questions, not the majority, not by far, but some of the questions are so difficult that we would actually have to have a meeting to try to figure out why the answer was the answer. So, yeah. I feel very confident I could take an IELTS reading test and score a perfect 40 out of 40. I do not feel confident I could do the same in a TOEFL. I do not. I don't think I could, frankly. I think I could get 1 or 2 wrong. Yeah, I could do extremely well. But am I going to get 1 or 2 wrong? Yeah. I know. I've taken enough practice tests to know. I very rarely have gotten a perfect score. So there you go. So, Ishmael, my opinion is, yeah, it is more difficult. Let's talk about.
Do you know what? Do you know why? It's difficult.
Yes, because I know why. I think my opinion is that some TOEFL correct answers. It's not that they're correct answers. perfectly correct. It's that they're more correct than other answers. Sometimes because TOEFL has inference questions, for example, and what you infer, you know, if we're looking at a painting, what you infer the artist's meaning is may be different than mine. Think about if you guys, well, Michael, you have, I don't know, maybe some of you guys have participated in my classes where I do famous quotes, and we talk
Yeah.
about how we interpret that quote. Well, interpreting reading material can be and often is different for different individuals. So when
Yes.
you're asking questions about interpretation of written material, especially complex written material, you're opening a can of worms there, in my opinion. That's my opinion, Michael. Is that what you think, or?
Well, I think the test is more difficult than, for example, other tests because usually you are preparing for university. You need this test for studies, and you need kind of be not only like fluent English speaker, but you should be like a well-rounded person in some way.
Yeah,
So you
well,
should
to some degree, yeah. This test, and that brings up another point, whereas IELTS deals more with even the academic test in IELTS, which is for the same purpose as the TOEFL, by the way. The IELTS test deals much more with life situations. You know, you may hear a conversation and listening about someone getting tickets to go on vacation to Greece. All right, real life. You would never hear that in TOEFL. TOEFL, absolutely everything has to do with university life. You will hear, there's conversations in this you listen to in speaking, in writing, in listening, of course. Everything has to do with academic life. They're all conversations that revolve around college life, dormitory, maybe the meals, maybe the parking. Who knows? But at university specifically, absolutely everything. So, yeah, you definitely have a point there. Absolutely. Let me talk about scoring for just a second. It's a little more complicated than IELTS. You first of all, each IELTS is always 40 questions. TOEFL can be a different number of questions, so it's very hard to scale. You have a raw score. How many did you get correct? How many out of 45 or 49? Whatever it may be. And then they scale that, your scaled score, your true score, your TOEFL score that you get, top score is 30. Okay, so it's always scaled to perfect. If you get everything right, you get 30 points. Each of the disciplines has 30 points. Reading, writing, listening, speaking, 30, 30, 30, 30. 120 would be a perfect score in TOEFL would be 120. I have never heard of anybody having that. I have met somebody who had 118. That is the best I've ever heard, which impressed the heck out of me. In any case, it is scaled, and I can't explain really how they scale it because they can't explain. Because basically, they put a test out there, and then they use the raw scores of the students to help them compute how they're going to scale the scores. So there is no mathematical formula which can be predetermined to figure out your raw score to convert it to scaled score, because it doesn't exist until they actually get the raw scores of all the students, or the students for that particular example of the test, rather, the historical sample. So, can't really help you with that. in any case. In general, in order to get perfect, you may or may not be able to get one wrong, for example. Usually it's back 2 or 3, every couple you miss, you lose a scaled score, but that's wide open. I don't know. Okay, any questions? Before I get to some basic strategy. Okay, basic strategy. Now, again, because you have the luxury of having the specific reading material you're going to have the question about on your screen as you answer the questions. You may not have to, you can tend to skim the answers much faster. Before you start answering questions, this goes all the way back to Ishmael's question. Can you go straight to questions? Yes, you can. That is one strategy. Another strategy is to completely read the whole passage. If you're a fast reader, it's only 700 words. Maybe you want to do that. Again, try different strategies. Or do you want to use the middle strategy in which you skim a little bit first and then go to the questions? I would probably recommend that method, even though it's not the method I use. Simply because it is important, and there will be questions which deal with the overall, not just the sections, the paragraphs, but the overall construction of the passage, the overall meaning, the overall purpose. So it is important to figure out the purpose of the author. There will be related questions, and the structure. The structure is always the same, okay? Just the same as you should be writing when you're writing. Is the same structure they use when you're reading. Introductory paragraph, supporting paragraphs, and then a concluding paragraph. It's as simple as that. So in order to understand the purpose, at the very least, I think that you should at least skim it. What you might want to do, read the first 1 or 2 lines of the first paragraph so you know what the topic is and where the author is going, or the controlling idea of the author. Then maybe read the first line of each body paragraph. You at least know what each paragraph has its own topic as well, just like the whole piece. So if you read the first lines, you know at least what the topic is for each supporting paragraph. And the final paragraph, you need to pay close attention to, because the author's making his final conclusion. At least read the first and last line of the final paragraph, I would say. So at least you're getting, at the very minimum, regardless of how much time you spend skimming the material, trying to understand the material, you should have at least a basic idea of what's going on here. A normal TOEFL passage, they're always going to have an introduction, a conclusion, usually 4 or 5 body paragraphs, normally. Again, about 700 words. Okay. You should also pay attention, especially to what are called direction markers. For example, if the author says, on the other hand, well, obviously he's introducing opposing points of view. You should know that may come up in the questions, things like that. Basically, if you do this, you should be able to mentally state the main idea of the passage before you really get going. Now, look, Ishmael brought up something earlier about the problem of not understanding some of this more technical material. Okay, I want to actually talk about that for a minute. Hang on a second. Can I? Okay, I don't know if I can. Oop, oop, oop. Oh, that doesn't help. Oh, okay. All right. If you have a big long sentence, and you're having difficulty deciphering what they're talking about, here's what you need to do. You need to dissect it down to its most basic elements. Okay, you have a terrifically long sentence. Let's see if I can find a simple example here. It is a good idea. Okay. It is a good idea to just break it down to something very, very, very simple. Let's see. I want to find a... Oh, let me go back to the reading passage here. Okay, wait a second. Let's look at this. Okay. Okay, all right. Hang on here. Let me do a screen share. What I mean, okay, you have a complicated piece of writing here. Okay, let's see. Let's see, okay. I'm trying to find something good. Okay, let's read this here. Okay. When the neutron strikes the isotope, it ejects neutrons of its own, which in turn strike other uranium isotopes. Okay. What you do is basically, all right, you want to turn this into subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object. Okay, subject, neutron, does what? Strikes the isotope. Okay, for each, well, this is it, what? Neutron, ejects neutrons. Okay, which in turn, which is a relative pronoun referring to neutrons. Which, okay, neutrons strike atoms. That's it. Okay, let's look at another one. That wasn't too good, but all right. A long sentence. Shortly after the discovery of the potential destructiveness of nuclear power, President Franklin Roosevelt set up a committee to investigate the feasibility of a nuclear weapon. You know what? All this is a time phrase. Doesn't matter to the actual meaning of the sentence. Get rid of the whole thing. Okay, President Roosevelt, set up. All right, President Roosevelt, subject, verb, set up, what? A committee. That's it. I don't really have to... Roosevelt set up a committee is what this entire sentence, this whole thing can be boiled down to that information.
Yeah, but you need about what the committee was.
Do I?
Yeah. About investigation of the feasibility of a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
So you cannot cut that down.
Well, no. I'm talking about for general understanding. The more you butcher it down to the most simple things, the easier it is to understand. I understand that there's going to be a question about feasibility, and I obviously have to look at it to answer the question. Okay, I understand that, but I'm just saying to get overall meaning, if you're having real problems, the more you can boil it down to the most simple elements, the easier it's going to be to understand. Okay?
Okay.
I mean, just the fact that he made a committee. This happened. Neutrons hit neutrons, which hit other neutrons. This started nuclear reaction. President started a committee. Da 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 da. In other words, you're converting this very complex academic material into kindergarten language. Basically, kindergarten language. Joe ran. Joe ran after Jane. Run, Joe, run. Sometimes this will, by boiling it down to the most purely basic essence, you can actually understand what the heck's going on. Okay. Okay, okay, let me, I have some other material here. I'm just not sure if you guys can see it. Let me try it out. Okay. Difficult vocabulary. All right. All right, and now take a look at this here. Okay. Despite the preponderance of evidence debunking this outdated notion, many people continue to vigorously defend it. Now that's more complicated. All right. First of all, any phrases at the beginning of or at the end of sentences. Okay, phrases at the beginning of a sentence that are set off with commas can be cut. I just did that when I was talking about Roosevelt. That eliminates two of the words. They don't even matter. So that leaves us with many people continue to vigorously defend it. All right.
Sorry. What we can do? We can cut. Remember, we said the phrase.
In the first one, in the one with Roosevelt, the whole. Remember, I cut out that whole first phrase. They can just be cut out. They are not.
Why?
They are extra. They're extra information. They are. It is the. Despite the preponderance of evidence debunking this outdated notion, is in fact a dependent clause. The independent clause, or the important part of the sentence, is the second part. So basically, the independent clause, or the simple sentence that you're left with, is the important part of the sentence. The rest is extraneous extra information. You don't actually need it. It helps, but if you don't understand the word, then it hurts. So get rid of it. Okay, so you're left with this. Many people continue to vigorously defend it. Now this sentence is not so complicated. Now you go to subject, verb, object. We can get rid of many. That's just an adjective. Subject, people, continue. Object, vigorously, is an adverb. Basically, now we can weed out all the adjectives, adverbs, and adjective clauses, and that's what you get. People continue to defend it, which is the essential idea of the whole thing. Okay, if in other cases it won't be as helpful. If you, in this sentence, the gentility of Victorian England viewed work as the domain of men and often limited women's access to various jobs. Here you have a problem because the weird word is the subject. Obviously, we can get rid of Victorian England, but it's not going to help as much. So first thing, you can always get rid of prepositional phrases. So of Victorian England, goodbye. Okay. View as the domain of men, I think you can get rid of. No, okay, we'll leave that. Then gentility viewed work, they left it. Okay. Okay, fine. All right. We don't know what gentility is, so okay, we don't know what it is. So, but if we looked at the verb viewed, our subject is a. We know the word viewed, so we do understand that who views something, not. It has to be people, some kind of people view. Sometimes the verb can give us a clue. What views? Okay, I can't say my pencil views something. That doesn't make any sense. It can't be an object. All right. Manila views. No, it can't be a place. That doesn't make any sense at all. So, all right, we can get the idea at least that gentility probably means people. By constantly breaking it down, you will see that the verbs, if you don't know the verb, maybe the object or the subject will help you figure out the verb, because it has to work in, it has to be some sort of an object. If you can generalize some people. Okay, here's another example. The Scythians were able to subjugate the Slavs. I don't know what that means. Who throughout their history suffered under the dominion of many foreign rulers. Obviously, we get rid of the dependent clause. Okay, so we're left with the Scythians were able to subjugate the Slavs. Okay, we see first of all, Scythians and Slavs are obviously a type of people because they're capitals. Okay, so the Scythians were able to do something to the Slavs. Okay, what did they do? Well, we don't know, but at least we understand the basic idea. The Scythians were doing something to the Slavs. Perhaps if you see other information in the context, you can figure out what that something was. And okay, if then it says, the Slavs were enslaved for 500 years. Oh, that's what they did. That's what subjugates means. They enslaved them. Or they dominated them, something like that.
So
right.
The idea, we simple the sentence to the verb and the subject, and after that, when we see a difficult word, we try to change the difficult word with like simple word.
Very simple. Some people, or did something to, did something, or perhaps we can figure out they made something. Yeah.
Okay, we'll try in next class.
Just a very basic idea. And actually, yeah, we will try in the next class. We definitely will. And it works the other way, too, not just for the reading passage. Sometimes the questions are also difficult to understand. All right. So sometimes it really helps to simplify the question as well. If you're not 100% sure what they're asking you, how can you be 100% sure of the answer? So, which is the last tip. You have to understand the question. Okay, I have to go because I have to come back. I will be right back directly. In the next class, we will look at question types. And yes, we will probably have to do some of this reducing. Okay, thanks, gentlemen. See you in a minute.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thanks. God bless you.